Something big is supposed to happen in 16 days. The end of January 2026 is almost upon us, and UK energy suppliers were expected to offer at least one low or zero standing charge tariff. Yet, it's been total radio silence, nothing but static. No press releases, no marketing, no announcements. And if this is meant to help consumers, why does it feel nobody wants to talk about it? So let's take a step back and look at what was promised. Last year, Ofgem announced plans to require suppliers to offer at least one low standing charge tariff. Now, at this point, we should say the original plan was to offer at least one zero standing charge tariff. But during the consultation in the summer, that got changed to at least one low standing charge tariff. Now, standing charges have exploded in recent years. The DNOs have just been heaping cost after cost onto our standing charges, and it being a monopoly means we have no choice but to just accept it. And we've seen regional variations in standing charge just get wider. People in Scotland, where there is an abundance of renewable energy, have been paying standing charges close to 75 pence a day, whereas those in the southeast have been paying about 50 pence a day. Now, for low usage households, these have become the biggest part of their bill. So Ofgem, the Department of Energy and government made a promise. They promised more choice, fairer pricing and help for people who use the least. Now, this was positioned as a win for consumers, especially those who felt that they were being punished just for being connected to the grid. So who was this supposed to help? Well, as with all government policy, there are winners and there are losers. So let's look at who were the intended winners with this. Well, obviously, people who are low energy users. If your standing charge is wrapped into your per kilowatt hour rate, then if you use less energy, you will pay overall less money. So if you live in a small flat or an apartment, maybe a one-bedroom house, you're a single occupant, and you've got a highly efficient home from an insulation point of view, you're probably going to be one of the winners if this kind of tariff comes into play. People who have second homes or empty properties, holiday homes that are maybe not used for a period of the year. People who have a second home that sits for weeks or sometimes months with nobody in it. And maybe people who have little or no usage. There are a lot of properties that are undergoing renovation that are really not lived in for maybe as much as a year, and the only electricity that's used is a small amount for the on-site construction crew. Now, all of those are going to be winners. The other winners in this are going to be people who are incredibly engaged, savvy consumers. People who understand and monitor tariffs, who are constantly looking at different tariffs saying, what's going to be the best for me? And they're willing to switch tariffs multiple times a year and to optimize to get the exact right point and make sure they're paying as little as they possibly can. But let's be honest, other than people who are probably watching this video, the vast majority of people don't do that. But these are going to be the people who win. These are going to be the people who have been shouting the loudest about standing charges. And finally, it looks like somebody listened to them. But in reality, standing charges are the cost that nobody escapes because the network needs to be maintained. Our standing charge, or a portion of that, goes to cover the maintenance of transmission lines, whether they be the big pylons that you see or underground lines, local and regional transformer stations. All of that still needs to be maintained. We still need to make sure that that is maintained to a very high standard so that we don't end up with outages in the network. So those costs still have to be paid from somewhere. And if it's not being paid out the standing charge, it will be paid from higher unit rates. So it might look appealing to move to a tariff that doesn't have or has a low standing charge, but you might end up paying a lot more for your per kilowatt rate to cover those costs. And this, because it's more complicated, I think people who switch to these tariffs are going to have to become savvy because It's very easy to sign up to something because it looks great on day one and then forget all about it. Like most of us do with our car insurance, we just let it auto renew, and it's only after a few years we realize we've been paying way more than we should have been. And I think with this kind of tariff, you're really going to have to be on top of your game. Okay, so as of today, it is 16 days till this is supposed to at least be announced. I'm not convinced, because of the language that was used in the Ofgem press release and the consultation, that it will actually go live at the end of January. But with 16 days to go, why is nobody talking about this? Well, there are a few reasons, and the first one is what is known as regulatory fog. The final license, as far as we can tell, and the final wording of how this will be enforced is still unclear. Now, this might have been put out to the energy companies privately so that they can take a first look at it, and nothing has been released to the public at this point. But at the moment, the actual language of the regulation from Ofgem hasn't been published. And my suspicion is the suppliers, Octopus, EDF, E.ON, British Gas, all of those companies don't want to risk a misstep by going out early, and then as the government starts to clarify that regulatory fog, that they realise a mistake has been made. This is a bit of a commercial risk for them. Low standing charge tariffs often lock in bad headlines for companies because there's always going to be somebody who thought this was going to be great for them. They signed up for it and they found out very quickly that this was bad. And the press loves to jump on those kind of stories. Put yourself in the position of Greg Jackson or one of the CEOs of one of the energy suppliers. You can imagine the headlines in the Daily Mail, the Daily Express, the Telegraph. Cheaper tariffs that aren't cheaper for most customers. And then, of course, the CEOs of those companies would be asked to comment. So I think they're, to use an old military phrase, they're keeping their powder dry at this point. Now, I think what we're going to see is some last minute launches, quiet compliance. So it may be that they don't want to make press releases about this. They just want to quietly comply, slip out a new tariff. It will appear on the website. If you go looking for it, you might find it. And by doing it that way, there'll be no PR backlash. If there are any sort of uncomfortable moments, they can avoid most of those. And again, they don't have to take questions from the press if they just push this out quietly. And the last thing is, with something like this, it may be that they don't want first mover advantage, because in this kind of situation, first movers become a media punching bag. Remember, this isn't something that is being deployed by the energy companies themselves. This is something that is being imposed upon them by the regulator. But it will be the energy companies that become the media punching bag over this. So again, they probably just want to sneak this out under the radar as quietly as they can possibly do and make as little fuss about it until they really understand the full implications of it. If this was truly great news for everyone, they would be shouting about it from the rooftops. The fact that they're not, with 16 days to go, tells me this isn't really going to be something. So as we start to wrap this up, let me ask the question, will this really be a win for anybody? This change, like most government policy changes, creates winners and losers by design. You'll only win if your usage pattern matches a strict profile for that tariff. Most people won't know if they're winners or losers until after they switch. And my worry is that these kind of tariffs will have a lock-in. So you'll either have to stay for a year or there'll be a penalty fee if you want to leave. These charges still need to be paid. And if some win and others lose by design, that means that those that lose are going to have to suck up the extra costs, because the DNOs still need to maintain their network. They still need to do all of the work that they're doing today. And they can't do that, or they'll say they can't do that, with less money. So they still need to be paid the same amount of money to maintain the network, and that's going to come from fewer and fewer customers. Standing charges feel unfair, But removing them in this way may just hide the cost and make it harder for consumers to see where they are. Now, this could be the biggest quiet change in UK energy pricing in years. But ask yourself the question, will you pay less or more? Will you spot the trap or will you fall into it? And when these tariffs finally appear, will you be able to tell right away at the beginning if you're going to be a winner or a loser? Now, when the tariffs finally drop, I will of course break down exactly who I believe should switch and mostly who absolutely should not. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Is this something that you're looking forward to? Do you think this will have a material change in your energy bills? Or do you think this is going to be a big nothing burger? Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you very much for clicking on this video. I hope you found this insightful, is probably the word I would use. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if I'm lucky, I'll see you back here real soon for another video. Take care.